Thank you for listening to the show on Really Big Something Channel.
Warning: the Savage Nation contains adult language, adult content, psychological nudity. Listener discretion is advised. And now, America's most exciting radio talk show, The Savage Nation, home of borders, language, culture. And here he is, winner of the National Radio Hall of Fame Award, Michael Savage.
Going back to the Luke days. $25 million. Apparently couldn't keep his ego in check. We covered that yesterday. It's over. He'll do something else. He'll make a lot of money at whatever he does. He could lecture. He can write books. And as I say, he's got another big killing book in him. Killing O'Reilly would be a huge bestseller. I would write it, but I'm bored of the topics. So I won't write it. He could write it. It's an autobiography. It's about throwing himself. Anyway, you got the picture. We're not talking about that. We're talking about Dear Julian Assange. Is he a hero or a traitor? Now, the average person does not know who he is. If you were to drive Route 66 and look at the average American, and you would have stopped the average American in an Arby's roast beef house while waiting online and say to them, hey, guy, what do you think of Julian Assange? They would probably call the police. They probably think that you're some, like, a weirdo from San Francisco. No one knows who he is. So, I mean, it's those who are calling know who he is. And I asked you if he was a traitor or a hero, because the whole government's after him. And he'll be in the news when they catch him, when the Ecuadorians finally turn him in. And they will. There's no question about it. At the end of the hour, I raised another issue, which was the issue of internment camps. Again, an extremely controversial issue, but it's not illegal to discuss it. I did not even suggest interning American Muslims, nor would I do so. What I suggested is the day is going to come when we will have a national and a vigorous national discussion at that about whether or not we should intern all of those under surveillance as possible terrorists. We hear that there are investigations, active investigations in 50 states by the CIA, by the FBI, ongoing investigations, and there's only so much that a society can take from these sub-moron inbreeds running around waiting to crush their daughter's skull with a truck. How long do we have to wait until we finally do something? And we want this government to do something, and that would be preventive detention. That would be internment camps for those on the watch lists. Now, I understand how controversial that is, but I would refer again to the liberal president, the socialist liberal president, what's his name? Franklin Delano Roosevelt, who interned Japanese American citizens, by the way. Again, quite controversial. There were rumors that there were several, I don't know how many or what percentage, of those in the Japanese American community who were, in fact, acting as agents of the Japanese imperial government while living here in America. They were signaling from the West Coast. They were signaling ship movements, and there was a fear that there would be a greater element of that. Now, I understand that many innocents were swept up, but what you don't know about World War II and that particular, let's say, issue in our history, did you know that German Americans were also interred? I don't know if you know that. Did you know that Italian Americans had their property seized in World War II? I don't know if you know that. Despite the number of heroic men from Italian-American backgrounds in the military who fought like devils for America, right here in America, the Italian-American community was looked upon with suspicion because they were part of the Axis powers under Mussolini. And even Joe DiMaggio's father's little crabbing boat in San Francisco on Fisherman's Wharf was seized by the federal government. A little-known fact of history. So you say, well, was that right? I'm not asking you whether it was right. It was done. Things are done during war that are not done when you're not at war. So here's the big question. Should we declare war on the Islamic State? Yes, it's long overdue. And this is something that bothers me very, very deeply. I do not know why this government has not yet officially declared war on the Islamic State. The Islamic State has declared war on this nation. They would like to destroy us or convert us. They're clear on their goals. Why are we not declaring war on them, which would give us give the government powers that the government currently doesn't have because they have not declared war. I guess they don't have the right person advising them yet on this issue. They're dealing with their own enemies within mainly the Democrat Party, mainly Maxine Waters and Chuck Schumer, who are more dangerous right now than you may imagine. So again, those are some of the topics. What about the San Francisco power outage? Why do you think it happened? Who did it? Is it sabotage? Is it a foreign agent? Is it a domestic terrorist of the type that beats people up at Berkeley, one of those black-clad lowlifes? WBOB in Jacksonville. Paul, on the issue of San Francisco, what do you know?
Yes,
Hey.
Dr. Savage. My son is an electrical engineer at our local power station, and he has done some checking and claims that a substation downtown San Francisco has been hit by a fire and knocked out 95,000 locations.
All right, so a substation was hit by a fire. Was it by accident or was it sabotage?
Don't know as yet.
We'll never know. You think that the city of San Francisco will ever tell us?
Are you kidding? I don't.
No, I'm not kidding, no. No, I'm not kidding, no. They'll never tell us, especially if the perpetrator is not a white male. Let's put it to you that way. Unless the perpetrator looks like Timothy McVeigh, that's another story. If he was a returning military veteran, a Christian who went to church, then I'm sure that they would parade him around and frog march him in front of City Hall. But other than that, I don't think we'll ever find out if it was some kind of sabotage. It's just not the way a left-wing city of idiots is run. I'm sending you a copy of Trump's War. You can read all about the enemy within if you'd like. 200 spies rounded up after the Japanese war? Really? Todd on WFTL. Go ahead. 200 spies where?
On the West Coast. When we got into the Japanese archives at the end of the war, we found out that there were something like 206 spies that were interned along with the rest of the Japanese when they were taken out of California.
So they were here. In other words, there were active agents of the Imperial Japanese Army here working.
Correct. That's correct.
Well, here's the problem. But there were what? 20,000 Japanese who were innocent were rounded up along with them.
I think it was something like 85,000, but I'm not...
85, I don't know the number. Okay, so now that goes to the issue that liberals always espouse. I'd rather see 99 guilty people go free than one innocent person arrested. Well, I don't believe in that at all, because that is why we're letting radical Islamists run over our heads with trucks, why we're letting them blow up Christians, why we're letting them kill people with impunity, whether it be in Orlando or in San Bernardino. It's not that the government didn't know who they were. They were under surveillance. Why were they not dragged in by their filthy outfits and thrown into a deep cell somewhere? Why? Because the liberals say you had no probable cause. I would say if they're on a watch list and they're being watched because of sympathies with ISIS or Al-Qaeda, that's probable cause. Would you agree with that?
I'd agree with that. That's the way wars are won.
Okay, but here's the problem. We're not at war. They're at war, but we're not. Now, how can you win a war if the other side declares war on you and you won't declare war on them?
You can't. You can't win it.
All right, so that's why we're losing the war against ISIS. And I would hope that when Donald Trump gets around to this issue, instead of that stupid issue of Obamacare, which I don't want to hear about anymore, he takes on the biggest issue of national security, which is declaring war on ISIS. I am sending you a free copy of Trump's War this Rock and Roll Friday. The phone number is 855-407-282. 855-400-SAVAGE. Is Julian Assange of WikiLeaks a hero or a traitor is a big question. And here's a gentleman from an intelligence agency on line 6. Austin, go ahead. You have the floor.
Yes, good afternoon, Dr. Savage. I do serve in an intelligence agency. I would rather not say which one for obvious reasons, but Assange, Mr. Assange is most definitely a traitor. There's no arguing against that, in my personal opinion.
Okay, tell us why you would say that he holds himself up as a Robin Hood who is trying to just release information that shows that the agencies are all corrupt. Why is he a traitor in your mind?
And you hit on it earlier that him and Snowden are completely different. Snowden, at least initially, followed protocols, and he attempted to bring to light within his own agencies and within the government what was happening before he went whistleblower. Assange has done no such thing, and I know he has no affiliation with an agency as far as I know, But there are inspector generals, there are protocols in place where anyone in any intelligence agency and any government agency can report and go up the chains of command in order to bring to light issues. And if that doesn't work, then I feel that whistleblowing is acceptable in certain cases. Now, you also have to look at exactly what he released. Again, Snowden released that the NSA was explicitly violating all of Americans' privacy rights for what amounted to little reason, or little probable cause, rather. Assange, as you've already hit on again, WikiLeaks got famous releasing all those documents about the Afghanistan and Iraqi wars, and it just shamed the American military, and is part of the reason why our rules of engagement are so restricted in what we're doing, as well as the fact, like you said, we haven't declared war. And that's hamstringing the military, which I speak from personally. It's ruining our efficacy in the fight against terrorism. And then to release documents from the CIA about tools and practices, nothing, and I haven't been able to read all million documents that he released from this, but nothing was anywhere on the level of what Snowden had in actual operations and actual actions that the CIA was taking illegally. His documents were simply about the methods, the manners in which the CIA can hack, and all those things. And
but look, you work for an intelligence agency, and here we have Mike Pompeo. The man is a certified American hero. There's no question about him. I don't question anything about him, and he's going after Assange tooth and claw. So is Jeff Sessions, another great conservative. So what has Assange done recently to have escalated this vendetta against him?
I mean, if I was Mr. Pompeo, I'd be angry as well, because like releasing documents about civilian deaths in a war, which is it's a fact of life. When you are at war, that's what happens. He has hamstrung the CIA, because inevitably there will be oversight, there will be questions about practices, and the CIA will be forced to rework how it does its job.
Let me ask you something. Julian Assange is not an American citizen. Let's say he's sent back or sent to America by the Ecuadorian embassy against his will. He's shackled and sent here on a U.S. Air Force plane. What kind of trial will he face over here, because he's not an American citizen?
Well, it would really depend on the administration, because like Mr. Pompeo has said, they've identified him as a foreign intelligence service, which I would agree with. He, whether willingly or unwillingly, the way he's...
All right, so he's going to be tried as a spy. It's that simple.
That would be my opinion.
So if he's tried as a spy, he could face the death penalty, couldn't he?
He could, sir, yes.
And I think Pompeo wants to see him tied to a stake and shot, by what I see. And I appreciate your calling this show, because I don't think this topic is going to be forgotten very soon. Moreover, I think Julian Assange has made a critical and fatal error in becoming aggressive against those who want to get him. I think the worst thing he could have done was personally attack Pompeo and try to make this so personal. He has no power base whatsoever. And there's no question in my mind that when you take on a government like this, you always lose. I'll be right back.
Join the Savage Nation. Call now, 855-400-SAVAGE, 855-400-7282. Savage.
The Savage Nation is sponsored by Swiss America, the only company I trust with my financial future. Call 800-289-2646 or SwissAmerica.com.
Thank you for listening to the show on Really Big Something Channel.
Julian Assange of WikiLeaks a traitor or a hero? We've been talking about that. Should internment camps be considered for those who are on watch lists by the FBI? And the San Francisco massive power outage, shutting down the BART, that's our subway, cable cars, traffic lights, massive traffic jams. Lights are just going back on in some neighborhoods. And they are saying that it was a result of a fire at a substation at Larkin and Eddy Streets. What would cause such a fire in a substation? And it's not even clear whether the fire caused the outage, which swept through San Francisco about 9 a.m. Or was that substation ignited as a result of the outage? We wouldn't know. And I think that we're going to need a federal investigation because everything in San Francisco is suspect. Nothing in San Francisco can be trusted. Nothing. There's nothing that happens that you can trust the truth to be told. Nothing. Zero. So, well, what are you going to do about it? How do we know it wasn't sabotage by a foreign agent? How do we know that someone didn't use a backdoor into the computers of PG&E that was provided by Julian Assange? We had a caller earlier in the show who said that he runs a huge tech firm, and he's had 14 notices in the last few days of reinstalling backups or firewalls against such invasions because of what Julian Assange has done to so many firewalls in America. So many backdoors were opened. How do we know that some hacker didn't cause this huge power outage? Will we ever know? Well, if we had a federal investigation, we might know, but I doubt that we'll ever get that, not in this city where everything is swept under the rug. Why don't we declare war on ISIS? That's what I want to know. It's long overdue. Chuck on KSFO line 4, go ahead, please. Line 4, Chuck, you're on the Savage Nation. Go ahead, please.
Dr. Savage, I'll get right to the point. I'm a retired military lawyer. I had 20 years in the Judge Advocate General Corps.
Yes, sir.
The question a few minutes ago, why we don't declare war against ISIS. And the reason is, as a member of the United Nations, and the U.S. is a member, and all the other countries, the UN Charter prohibits countries from going to war, from declaring war. That's why the last time the United States declared war was the day after Pearl Harbor in 1941. And that's the problem, because we won't declare...
So we're bound by international laws created by peaceniks who want no war while Islamic State has declared war in the West. We're sitting here with our hands tied?
Well, what I'm saying is the United Nations prohibits us from declaring war.
Well, how long have I said the U.S. out of the UN? It's an old cry from the 1960s. It's time to get out of the UN. It is nothing. It's of no value to anybody. It's a body of corrupt international politicians who do nothing for anybody as far as I can tell. I don't believe we need to be bound by the United Nations. I think we need to be bound by a bigger law, and that's the law of survival. And the law of survival says it's time to declare war on ISIS.
Join the Savage Nation. Call now, 855-400-SAVAGE, 855-400-7282. Savage.
I'm back. I took an extra long break, and I didn't even know the break had ended. You'll have to forgive me there. Poor Jim is holding his heart. And I'm in a strange studio in Los Angeles that I use from time to time. My timing is so off. It's like when you change your locale, all your timing changes and everything else. Okay? Let's take some callers. Sylvia, KKOH, line 1. Sylvia, you've got the floor. What's on your mind?
I wanted to call to you about the internment and about war with ISIS. I am telling my age simply because it gives me credentials. I'm 85. I lived through World War II. Other than the veterans, very few Americans understand what a real war would mean to this country. It's rationing, it's lack of supplies, it's many things like that. Internment becomes, in my mind, a necessity in a case like that. And I think that if we were to go to war with ISIS, declare war right now, it would not be a wise thing. You are smart enough. I don't want to put too much ideas out. We have a problem on both coasts, on both sides of the country. I don't think we should try and take on the possibility of more trouble with those two at the same time right now.
Wait, when you say those two, what?
Korea and ISIS. In other words, we were in war in World War II on the European side and on the Asian side. That might not be in our best interest right now.
Yeah, but ISIS has infiltrated America with agents in 50 states. The government is watching them. Why don't they just round them up?
This, I agree with you on that, 100%.
Must they run grandmothers over like you who are out shopping in a mall before we say, oh my, that's terrible, but we want to give the Islamic terrorist his due process? What kind of sane nation survives with that attitude?
I hope not. In fact, I'm rather cautious myself when I go out because of that very type of...
So we're all living in a state of fear because of these inbreeds who are led into this country in great numbers by Obama. We don't know who they are. We don't know where they are, but the government says they know who they are and where they are. At least they know some of them. So what are we waiting for them to do, kill our children?
Well, I hope not. But war is a nasty thing. They have a...
Well, I know the liberal answer is war is not the answer, but what is the answer? If you got them under surveillance, what are we waiting for them to kill women and children before they get arrested, like in France? Oh, there he was. He was known to security services, and they didn't arrest him?
I think...
They didn't arrest him in advance because he had human rights there in France?
I agree with you, but...
Let me ask you something and everyone else. Where is the humanity and where are the rights when you permit inbreeds like this to live amongst you on welfare, to breed in your nation, collecting checks for housing and clothing and food and not providing anything for your society, breeding haters in their own household? Tell me what society can survive this.
It's not going to last, and I'm hoping that we can be patient enough, but not too patient.
You're a wise woman. And you have the wisdom of the ages, Sylvia. My patience have run out. I have no patience anymore. I don't care about the so-called civil rights lawyers. To me, they're a curse like lice upon the planet. To them, they use civil rights as a weapon against America every way they can. They want to call it civil rights to deny a conservative the right to speak. They want to call it civil rights to deny a conservative commentator the right to have a television show. That's not civil rights to me. That's uncivil and it's not right. So now we have active investigations in 50 states according to the FBI. Why are they not interning them in advance is what I'm asking. Answer, because of the so-called civil rights lawyers. Why should we put our survival in the hands of these crackpots called lawyers?
I don't think we should.
Now, where did you survive the war? Which country?
I was in the U.S. I've been in the U.S. My family's been in the U.S. since 1660.
Well, it's a little longer than my family, I'll tell you that. My family didn't come over on the Mayflower, I can tell you that.
They didn't make the Mayflower, but they came 30 years later, and I'm rather proud of that.
Yeah, well, we didn't make the Mayflower. I think we missed it by 300 years.
Well, it's one of those things.
Well, you know, it's not where you start in America, it's where you end in America, as far as I am concerned. And I have done my best to make my family proud. That's all I can do. That's all I've ever tried to do. I hold on to an old worldview of dignity and pride. I used to watch in the 80s when I was having a lot of trouble in this society because the liberals had denied me my birthright and were giving jobs to totally and absolutely incompetent individuals based on their race or sex. I, at times, did not want to live. I thought that it wasn't worth living. I thought I had shamed my family. That's how much the ACLU had done in their attempts to destroy white males like me. But something in me kicked in, and I decided I would fight. And I am still fighting them with everything in me. And I'll tell you right now, Sylvia, if it was up to me, I would close down the ACLU as a domestic terrorist organization. I would immediately seize their assets. I don't care how many people would scream and bellyache. It is a domestic terrorist organization. By all definitions, the ACLU is the enemy of the people. I don't know that anyone from the ACLU has ever run for office, do you? Did you ever elect them to become a branch of government? Yet they have more power than the Justice Department. They have more power, it seems to me, than the Supreme Court. Whoever elected these psychotic lawyers to be a branch of government? Nobody. They simply took the power. Well, you're here since the days of the Mayflower, and you listen to my program, which I consider to be a great honor, that you take time out of your life to even listen to me. You're listening out of Las Vegas area, Sylvia? Is that where you're living?
Actually, it's upper near Reno. We're in North.
Oh, you're on KKOH in Reno. So are you up in the Reno area?
Yes.
Is that where your family originally settled, or you migrated there?
No, I've migrated by way of New Jersey, Pennsylvania. I was born in Pennsylvania. New Jersey, Colorado, where I was married. I've lived in lovely California for many years. Mm-hmm. Very glad that I'm not there now. Sorry you're having trouble in San Francisco.
It's such a heartbreak when I live here in California, and I love it so much. I love the geography. I love everything about this state, and yet I look at the pollution, the social pollution that has been wrought by Jerry Brown and his illegitimate. It makes me sick to my stomach that there is nothing to counter these psychotics and their intent to denude the nation of anything of value. But that's a separate story. It's just a very strong opinion about what they've done to this great state. And it's whether I'm in San Francisco or Los Angeles, I see the same disease, the same social rot. I can give you one example after another. You go in the streets of Beverly Hills, as I did yesterday after the show, and I go down there to look at the beautiful clothing. It's not the kind of stuff I buy, but people come from around the world, as you probably remember, to Rodeo Drive, right? Remember Rodeo Drive?
Oh, yes.
Okay, all the high-end stores, maybe $85,000, $100,000 a month rent, with the most expensive luxury goods in the world. I've got something to tell you. Do you know that a goodly percentage of these stores are now boarded up? Do you know that a massive recession has hit these stores? People are not even reporting it. The last I was here, every store was full, and there were unlimited numbers of Japanese, Koreans, Japanese, Chinese, and most particularly and of interest were women in burqas shopping in these stores. And I couldn't understand why women from Muslim countries who allegedly hate our way of life would shop on Rodeo Drive. I said, what kind of clothing are they buying? And then it dawned on me that Trump's travel ban may have actually stopped the flood of travelers from some of these countries who are buying in these high-end stores. That could be part of the reason. I mean, there are other reasons as well. The economy is going through a downturn. People are shopping online rather than going to a store. But I will tell you, if you look at the stores on Rodeo Drive, you will see a recession in the making here.
That's amazing.
Yeah, no one's reported that yet because it would be bad for business. That would be like reporting bad weather in Honolulu. It's not permitted. You know, Hawaii no Kauai. It's always the best place on earth until you actually land there. Sylvia, I am sending you my groundbreaking, best-selling book, Trump's War, His Battle for America. I never told anyone the following. I may as well tell everyone now on this Friday. I received a real shot in the arm this week from the president. I don't think I'm divulging anything that is illegal or even embarrassing. I'm so proud of it. It was the end of a long day, Tuesday, I think. And I got an email from his assistant, someone I had never heard of before, and someone I had never even communicated with before. And it was a PDF of the cover of my book, Trump's War, which Donald Trump had inscribed. And he put an inscription on the top in a marquee pen, in one of those pens, and it said, Michael Savage, you are the greatest. Don't give up hope. We are winning. Donald J. Trump. And then she said to me, if you'd like the original, just send me your address. Of course I want the original. I want to frame it and put it in my archives and give it to my granddaughter as a great memento of this time in our lives. But the thing is it means something is going on. It means that the president is listening to those of us out here who work so hard to get him elected. And as I said earlier in the week, and I'll repeat, no, his base has not turned on him. No, his base has not turned on him. That's a liberal lie. In fact, if you look at the things he has achieved so far, we're very happy with him so far. And it's only not even been 100 days. So whenever you hear, oh, Trump's base is unhappy because he didn't do this, he didn't do that. Oh, he's had so many missteps. That is all a product of the opposition. That's all a product of propaganda. It's a disinformation campaign. As someone who worked so hard to get Donald Trump elected, let me set the record straight. No, the base is not unhappy. We love Donald Trump. I'll be right back.
Join the Savage Nation. Call now, 855-400-SAVAGE, 855-400-7282. Savage.
The Savage Nation is sponsored by Swiss America, the only company I trust with my financial future. Call 800-289-2646 or SwissAmerica.com.
Thank you for listening to the show on Really Big Something Channel.
You know, I told you that a breach of an online tool used for federal student loan applications may have compromised up to 100,000 taxpayers. The IRS data tool that I'm talking about allows tax returns to be uploaded to the free application for federal student aid. Well, identity thieves use stolen data to file fake tax returns, and the IRS estimates that 8,000 fraudulent refunds were issued, 8,000, totaling $30 million. The tool was taken offline in March after the breach was discovered, and the IRS has started notifying people who may have been affected. Identity theft happens when thieves use your information to pretend that they're you. They can buy things on your credit, liquidate your bank accounts, or even get your retirement funds. LifeLock scans hundreds of millions of transactions each second. If they detect your information has been breached, they send you an alert. If you have a problem, a U.S.-based agent will work to fix it. Free credit monitoring only alerts you to changes in credit. No one can prevent all identity theft or monitor all transactions at all businesses, but LifeLock is the best identity theft protection available. Membership start at only $9.99 a month plus taxes. Go to LifeLock.com or call 1-800-LifeLock. Use promo code SAVAGE. That's SAVAGE for 10% off your LifeLock Ultimate Plus membership. Go to LifeLock.com, code SAVAGE, and save 10% now and save your credit. KSFO, Robert, line 4, on the issue of internment camps. Do you agree or disagree with me?
I absolutely agree, and I'm wondering if they have these secret courts that basically can haul you off in the middle of the night for no reason at all and hold you indefinitely with no charge, why aren't they doing that to these people that they have serious questions about? And
well, I don't know. I've been asking the question for a few days now, is why are they not rounding them up? If Jeff Sessions, the Attorney General, says that they have active cases in 50 states, I want to know why they haven't arrested them. There is probable cause, or they wouldn't be investigating them. Absolutely. It's that simple. I don't want to wait for them to take a truck and run over a child's head. Do you?
No, absolutely not.
I'm going to wait for them to walk up and kill 2 police in a car like in Paris and say, oh, they were known to surveillance? Ahmed from Morocco came over here under asylum and has 15 children in the house there on welfare, and I'm supposed to sit here like a moron waiting for him to kill somebody?
Especially with Trump in office. Why? What is he?
Why? I don't know why. It makes you wonder why. Why has nothing changed? Why are they not rounding them up and throwing them to an internment camp? Yeah, by the way, with the lawyers from Harvard. All the civil libertarian lawyers who love these terrorists so much, who are so concerned about their rights and due process, I suggest we put the lawyers in the internment camps with them so that the terrorists can get the best possible legal care. Because that way they will have a live-in lawyer. They can work with the terrorists 24/7. They can learn their ways. They can learn their culture. They can learn their language. They can don their costumes. And that way they can better aid the terrorists in representing them in a court. So I say put the lawyers in the prison with them. That way they get better care. Thank you. That's my opinion. I realize it's very, very uncontroversial to average people out there who know I'm right. It's only a matter of time. It's going to take one more 9/11 or something worse, and there's going to be a roundup. And I don't mean the chemicals sprayed on a lawn. All of this liberalism that we are living through now, this insanity, will go out by the way of the dodo bird. We're not going to be blocked by one Hawaiian judge. Not one Hawaiian judge can stand up on his poi and tell us, oh, you can't do that because you're violating their rights. No, I have a right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. The right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. The right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And that means that it's time for the U.S. government to take all of these active cases in all 50 states and intern them before they kill somebody. Or we're going to have what happened in Nice, France, or in Paris, or in San Bernardino, or in Orlando over and over again. Do you understand what I'm saying to you? I hope you do. Meanwhile, the Fresno killing suspect, another Muslim, shouts out during first court hearing. Another Allahu Akbar job.
Join the Savage Nation. Call now, 855-400-SAVAGE, 855-400-7282. Savage. Warning. The Savage Nation contains adult language, adult content, psychological nudity. Listener discretion is advised. And now, America's most exciting radio talk show, The Savage Nation, home of borders, language, culture. And here he is, winner of the National Radio Hall of Fame Award, Michael Savage.
It is the Savage Nation. The issue is Julian Assange at WikiLeaks. The average person walking in the streets of America who never heard of the guy, some creepy guy with long hair, I don't know who he is, some just creepy guy, you don't know what he's doing. So now all of a sudden the entire power of the U.S. government is after him. They want him in. They want the Ecuadorians to release him. My guess is if they will release him, they'll send him back in a basket if they have to. You know, $1 million will get anything you want from an Ecuadorian diplomat, as far as I could tell. So it's only a matter of time till you're going to face this trial here in America. They're going to make this a show trial. If Pompeo is against him, if Sessions is against him, if Peter King is against him, if Donald Trump is against him, they're going to try this guy and they're going to fry him. They're going to try him and fry him. So I just got an email from someone who I would describe as a libertarian conservative. And the emailer says hiring spies, as Julian Assange suggested, to infiltrate our government agencies sounds criminal. But what if those governmental agencies are acting illegally? What right do they have to be protected by the law they're supposed to uphold? And that is the crux of the matter. Now, I saw the movie Snowden a while ago. I thought it was a great movie. And after coming out of the movie Snowden, I felt Snowden was a hero. And that's because it was set up to make you feel he was a hero. Remember who directed the movie Snowden? One of the most ardent left-wing fanatics in Hollywood did the movie Snowden. And it was to create a sympathetic view. I think it was Oliver Stone. Oliver Stone has never met anything American that he liked. If it's made in America, he won't buy it. If it's woven in America, he won't wear it. If it's printed in America, he won't read it. Okay? So he doesn't like anything that's red, white, and blue. So he makes a movie turning Julian, whatever his name was, Snowden. And it was a great movie, by the way, fabulously well done. I came away feeling Snowden was simply a whistleblower who was trying to tell us that Obama was spying on all of us, and I felt he did us a favor. So now we have this case of Julian Assange. You know, if this were a graduate seminar in some course or other, I would ask you as a graduate student to compare and contrast Julian Assange with Edward Snowden, because I don't think that they're one and the same. I think that there are critical differences between the two of them, and it's worthy of discussion. But it may be, let us say, something a little more advanced than than we can do right now on the Savage Nation radio program. But what's his name? Whatever the last president was, I forgot his name already. He's been out of the news too long. The skinny guy who smoked a lot, who created the greatest surveillance state in the world, bigger than Stasi. Obama. Why would it be that the liberal, if you want to even call him that, Obama, would not try to extradite and try Julian Assange, while the new conservative administration under Donald Trump would go after Assange? That's the most interesting question of all. And I've gone back and forth on it, but I want to play some sound and tell you this is just a brief question, because it's a big deal. What did WikiLeaks do that has ticked off the head of the CIA? The new head of the CIA, by the way, is a real head of the CIA, as opposed to the phony Potemkin soldier that was in there before. Mike Pompeo is the real stuff. He is the right stuff. He was a member of the Tea Party movement within the Republican Party. That's A. He went to West Point. He graduated first in his class. Did you know any of this? Went to U.S. Military Academy at West Point, where he majored in mechanical engineering, graduating first in his class in 1986. And then he served in the Army as an Armor Branch cavalry officer from 86 to 91. He got his J.D. from Harvard Law, where he was an editor of the Harvard Law Review. He then worked for one of the top law firms in the country, if not the World Williams and Connolly. He served as a cav officer patrolling the Iron Curtain before the fall of the Berlin Wall. Served with the 2nd Squadron, 7th Cav, and the 4th Infantry Division. He served in his last tour in the Gulf War. I'm talking about the new head of the CIA, not the stooge that Obama had put in there. One stooge after another ran the CIA. We now have a real American hero in there, and a true conservative, and a Tea Party member who's now going after Julian Assange of because he's getting hostile. He thinks that he has more power than the CIA. It's only a matter of time until the Ecuadorians turn him in. Now, what happened there is that he's hiding in the Ecuadorian embassy. We know that. And a leftist one rather than a conservative, so the leftist will not release him or extradite him, more specifically, to the United States. However, I can guarantee you that if the CIA and the U.S. government wants Julian Assange, it is only a matter of time and money until the Ecuadorians send them back to the United States in shackles to be facing trial. And the reason is quite simple. It's money, 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 power, power, power. So now let's listen to the new head of the CIA, Michael Pompeo, and what he has to say about WikiLeaks. And I'm going to ask you what you think. Is Julian Assange a hero or a traitor? Let's listen now on the Savage Nation.
WikiLeaks walks like a hostile intelligence service and talks like a hostile intelligence service. It has encouraged its followers to find jobs at the CIA in order to obtain intelligence. It directed Chelsea Manning in her theft of specific secret information. And it overwhelmingly focuses on the United States while seeking support from anti-democratic countries and organizations. It's time to call out WikiLeaks for what it really is. A non-state hostile intelligence service often abetted by state actors like Russia.
A non-state hostile intelligence service. Let's hear the next soundbite from our new CIA director.
Julian Assange and his kind are not the slightest bit interested in improving civil liberties or enhancing personal freedom. They have pretended America's First Amendment freedoms shield them from justice. Assange is a narcissist who has created nothing of value. He relies on the dirty work of others to make himself famous.
Look, this is not the normal rhetoric of a politician. There's real anger here. He pissed off the CIA. He pissed off the head of the Justice Department, Jeff Sessions. He pissed off Peter King. And I don't think that he's going to get away with his hiding out in the Ecuadorian embassy much longer. Let's, for a moment, look at what Julian Assange is accused of having done. Way back in 2010, WikiLeaks posted more than 90,000 classified documents relating to the Afghanistan war, considered the biggest leak since the Pentagon Papers during the Vietnam War. And there were 100 categories of info. He released information on the hunt for Osama bin Laden, Afghan civilian deaths resulting from U.S. military actions. Well, why would he want to embarrass America like that? 2010, WikiLeaks publishes 400,000 classified military documents from the Iraq War, again providing a new picture of how many Iraqi civilians were killed. Now, why would he want to embarrass the United States with that? Sounds very anti-American to me. It's terrible when innocent civilians are killed in war. It's called collateral damage. Would you want to hear about the Germans who were killed during the firebombing of Dresden? And have pictures of the men, women, and children who were burnt to death in Dresden by Allied bombers who were trying to end the war? Well, if you did, you'd have sympathy for Nazis at that point. We can go down the list. In 2016, WikiLeaks released 20,000 emails from DNC committee staffers. Now, this is interesting. The emails show the committee favoring Hillary Clinton over Bernie Seltzer Sanders during the U.S. presidential primary. So now it comes down to he burned Hillary. Could it be that the Hillary camp is actually working with the Trump camp to bring Julian Assange in because of what he did to Hillary? But here's the big one, March 7th, 2017. WikiLeaks publishes what they say are thousands of internal CIA documents, including alleged discussions of a covert hacking program and the development of spy software targeting cell phones, smart TVs, and computer systems in cars. In a statement, Assange says that the website published the docs as a warning about the risk of the proliferation of cyber weapons. The documents are not independently authenticated. So is he a hero or is he a traitor? If he is a hero, why would a conservative government under Donald Trump with certifiable American patriots like Mike Pompeo and Jeff Sessions have such a vendetta to get him? That's the part that doesn't make sense to me. In other words, Trump could have said, you know what, the guy is a hero, we're going to bring him in and we're going to release him, we're not going to try it. But he didn't. Somebody is after him and they all want him down. Why? Now, again, Pompeo was an activist in the Tea Party, lifetime member of the NRA who endorsed him, opposed the Affordable Care Act. There's a lot of things that Pompeo did that are strong, hard, conservative acts. Do you hear what I'm saying? And for Pompeo to come out so strongly against Assange has me somewhat puzzled in a certain way. Now, Pompeo supports the NSA's surveillance programs. I'm a little concerned about the NSA's overreach myself. In March of 2014, Pompeo denounced NSA whistleblower Edward Snowden's inclusion in the South by Southwest conference in Austin, Texas, and he attacked him. In February of 2016, Pompeo said Snowden should be brought back from Russia and given due process, and he said, I think the proper outcome would be that he would be given a death sentence. Well, this is amazing, powerful rhetoric. This is not an ordinary politician who simply wants Assange to come in for a trial. They want to burn this guy. They are fed up with him. And in addition to Pompeo, I can guarantee you the president himself has turned on Assange. That's if he was ever supportive of him. But in addition to these politicians is Jeff Sessions, a true American patriot, head of the Justice Department. Let's hear in clip 4 what Jeff Sessions has to say about Julian Assange.
We are going to step up our effort and already are stepping up our efforts on all leaks. This is a matter that's gone beyond anything I'm aware of. We have professionals that have been at the security business of the United States for many years that are shocked by the number of leaks, and some of them are quite serious. So yes, it is a priority. We've already begun to step up our efforts, and whenever a case can be made, we will seek to put some people in jail.
So they want Julian Assange. Now look, I don't know if many listeners even know who Julian Assange is. He's not a household name, but he's an important figure in the world of surveillance and the world of attacking secretive agencies. Let's put it to you that way. But if you look at who's attacking Julian Assange, you may come to a different conclusion. In other words, on the face of it, you could say all Julian Assange was doing was showing truth to power, and he was trying to right some wrongs, and he was really out to protect all of us from an overly aggressive surveillance state. But let's look at Mike Pompeo of the CIA. He opposed closing Gitmo. He criticized the Obama administration's decision to end the CIA's secret prisons. Criticized Obama's requirement that all interrogators adhere to anti-torture laws. So you're talking about a hard conservative in Mike Pompeo, a really tough guy who really loves America, who really has worked for America. In a 2013 speech on the House floor, then Congressman Pompeo said Muslim leaders who failed to denounce acts of terrorism done in the name of Islam are potentially complicit in the attacks. I agree with him on everything he's done. Now, he's out to get WikiLeaks, calling it a non-state hostile intelligence service, and he called Julian Assange a narcissist, fraud, and coward. I'll be right back.
Join the Savage Nation. Call now, 855-400-SAVAGE, 855-400-7282. Savage.
We are now talking about the deep state of the CIA, but what's intriguing to me is that the CIA today is not the CIA that it was a few short months ago. This is the odd part for me. Do you remember what it was like? I want you to just think for a minute what it was like in the months leading up to the election. Do you remember how you felt? Wherever you went with your iPhone, you felt that the government was listening in, and it turns out that they may have been. It certainly was true that any one of us who was prominent in America, in the media in particular, no doubt we had an open microphone to some pervert at the NSA who had nothing better to do. They watched us walking. They watched us talking. They watched us talking to our dog. They watched us brush our teeth. They watched us go to the bathroom. They were sitting like the vermin that they are, spying on Americans without any due process. We were all very, very upset and very angry, and we had hoped that this would change when Donald Trump came in. But has it changed? I mean, this is the big question. You know, if Mike Pompeo, who is a great American patriot, there's no question in my mind, wants to win the favor of American conservatives and wants to win the favor of American libertarians in his assault upon WikiLeaks and what they've done, I think he needs to come out and assure us that the day of spying on innocent Americans is over. I haven't heard that yet. Now, I know the argument, and it's all faulty, because the old Ben Franklin thing is pretty clear. Those who would give up a little liberty for a little security will have neither. It's a great statement. Okay, I've joked about it. But there's a certain degree of reality and truth in that. You know, many of us said, I don't care. Remember the Patriot Act? Say, I don't care if they're listening to me. I got nothing to hide. That's not the point. Your privacy is what you've got to preserve, let alone your dignity. What government agency has the right to take away our dignity is the question. I'm speaking to you from another plane right now. I'm in another place and another perspective. No government on earth should have the right to steal our dignity, which is tied into our privacy. It's that simple. And under Obama, the greatest surveillance state in the history of the world was created under that snake. That snake who, as far as I'm concerned, should be tried for treason. I am still not going to rest until they try that snake for treason for what he did to this country. But that's like whistling in the dark. No one cares what I have to say about Obama. He's gotten away with virtual destruction of our freedoms. So now we have a new administration gladly using all of these invasions of our privacy. And they want to go after Assange, who is saying, no, they've gone too far, they've done this, they've done that. I can show you that they shouldn't have done this, they shouldn't have done that. So we the people are sitting here in the court of public opinion, and there is a war being fought right now, a sort of public trial. It's the CIA, now specifically Mike Pompeo versus WikiLeaks, specifically Julian Assange. So it's not a question of right or wrong here, because I don't think there's all right and all wrong here. You know, in terms of power, he's going to lose. There's no way he can win. What has he got behind him? He's not holed up in the Russian embassy, is he? Somewhere in Moscow, where he has the whole government behind him. He has some, little what's Ecuador? What the Ecuadorian Navy has one rowboat? What do they have, an old airplane and a Thunderbolt somewhere with no parts? What is he using to protect himself? I don't understand this guy. But on the bigger picture, I don't really want the world to know about all the Iraqi civilian deaths. They're ugly. They're heartbreaking to those who died and their families, but that was not the intent of the United States government, because we have been fighting an existential battle for our survival against the worst scourge the world has seen since Adolf Hitler came onto the world scene.
Join the Savage Nation. Call now, 855-4-SAVAGE.
Talking about dear Julian Assange. Is he a hero or a traitor? Now, the average person does not know who he is. If you were to drive Route 66 and look at the average American, and you would have stopped the average American in an Arby's roast beef house while waiting online and say to them, hey, guy, what do you think of Julian Assange? They would probably call the police. They probably think that you're some, like, a weirdo from San Francisco. No one knows who he is. So, I mean, it's those who are calling know who he is. And I asked you if he was a traitor or a hero, because the whole government's after him. And he'll be in the news when they catch him, when the Ecuadorians finally turn him in. And they will. There's no question about it. I raised another issue, which was the issue of internment camps. Again, an extremely controversial issue, but it's not illegal to discuss it. I did not even suggest interning American Muslims, nor would I do so. What I suggested is the day is going to come when we will have a national and a vigorous national discussion at that about whether or not we should intern all of those under surveillance as possible terrorists. We hear that there are investigations, active investigations in 50 states by the FBI, ongoing investigations, and there's only so much that a society can take from these sub-moron inbreeds running around waiting to crush their daughter's skull with a truck. How long do we have to wait until we finally do something? And we want this government to do something, and that would be preventive detention. That would be internment camps for those on the watch lists. Now, I understand how controversial that is, but I would refer again to the liberal president, the socialist liberal president, what's his name? Franklin Delano Roosevelt, who interned Japanese American citizens, by the way. Again, quite controversial. There were rumors that there were several, I don't know how many or what percentage, of those in the Japanese American community who were, in fact, acting as agents of the Japanese imperial government while living here in America. They were signaling from the West Coast. They were signaling ship movements, and there was a fear that there would be a greater element of that. Now, I understand that many innocents were swept up, but what you don't know about World War II and that particular, let's say, issue in our history, did you know that German Americans were also interred? I don't know if you know that. Did you know that Italian Americans had their property seized in World War II? I don't know if you know that. Despite the number of heroic men from Italian American backgrounds in the military who fought like devils for America, right here in America, the Italian American community was looked upon with suspicion because they were part of the Axis powers under Mussolini. And even Joe DiMaggio's father's little crabbing boat in San Francisco on Fisherman's Wharf was seized by the federal government. A little-known fact of history. So you say, well, was that right? I'm not asking you whether it was right. It was done. Things are done during war that are not done when you're not at war. So here's the big question. Should we declare war on the Islamic State? Yes, it's long overdue. And this is something that bothers me very, very deeply. I do not know why this government has not yet officially declared war on the Islamic State. The Islamic State has declared war on this nation. They would like to destroy us or convert us. They're clear on their goals. Why are we not declaring war on them, which would give the government powers that the government currently doesn't have because they have not declared war? I guess they don't have the right person advising them yet on this issue. They're dealing with their own enemies within mainly the Democrat Party, mainly Maxine Waters and Chuck Schumer, who are more dangerous right now than you may imagine. Never forget what radical Islam represents. Never forget that radical Islam is the worst plague the world has seen since the Black Plague of the Middle Ages. And never forget that we finally have a government that is going after this plague of radical Islam. My problem is they're not going after it hard enough or frequently enough. As I said yesterday on this show, and I'll say it again, I'll say it over and over and over again, because I know how these things work. I throw a pebble into a pond of thought, and the ripples that go out from my ideas often have effects downstream. And here's what I'm going to say, and I'm going to say it again. I am so sick and tired of hearing that the FBI or the DHS had a Muslim under surveillance who later killed a cop or blew up a school or ran people over and crushed their skulls like broken eggs, like just happened in Paris. You'll take a look at the face of that inbreed. Did you take a look at the face of the inbreed who shot the two cops? Oh, the French intelligence service had him under, they was known to them? Okay, my friends, make believe that we're at war with Hitler. Make believe we're at war with Hitler, and make believe that Hitler has put agents in the West, in every country. They're here, they're near, they're everywhere. They're under surveillance by the FBI, by the CIA, by the DHS. I want them rounded up now. I don't want to wait for any more due process. Due process is what? Catching them running over a baby's head with a 12-ton truck? I'm not waiting for that. Is Julian Assange of WikiLeaks a traitor or a hero? We've been talking about that. Should internment camps be considered for those who are on watch lists by the FBI? And the San Francisco massive power outage, shutting down the BART, that's our subway, cable cars, traffic lights, massive traffic jams. Lights are just going back on in some neighborhoods. And they are saying that it was a result of a fire at a substation at Larkin and Eddy Streets. What would cause such a fire in a substation? And it's not even clear whether the fire caused the outage, which swept through San Francisco about 9 a.m. Or was that substation ignited as a result of the outage? We wouldn't know. And I think that we're going to need a federal investigation because everything in San Francisco is suspect. Nothing in San Francisco can be trusted. Nothing. There's nothing that happens that you can trust the truth to be told. Nothing. Zero. So, well, what are you going to do about it? How do we know it wasn't sabotage by a foreign agent? How do we know that someone didn't use a backdoor into the computers of PG&E that was provided by Julian Assange? We had a caller earlier in the show who said that he runs a huge tech firm, and he's had 14 notices in the last few days of reinstalling backups or firewalls against such invasions because of what Julian Assange has done to so many firewalls in America. So many back doors were opened. How do we know that some hacker didn't cause this huge power outage? Will we ever know? Well, if we had a federal investigation, we might know, but I doubt that we'll ever get that, not in this city where everything is swept under the rug. Why don't we declare war on ISIS? That's what I want to know. It's long overdue. the list I'm about to read to you of people and organizations who receive money from George Soros is the beginning list. This is the pocket list of groups that need to be looked into by the new Justice Department. As I said earlier, Sir Arthur Conan Doyle called his fictional character Dr. Moriarty of the Sherlock Holmes stories. He called him the Napoleon of crime. I write that George Soros, in my opinion, is the Napoleon of American socialism. And then I list the number of subversive organizations that he received funding from. And I list them for you in 4 pages, 5 pages in Trump's war. You have to have the list. I'm sorry, you have to own it. Because people are going to say, oh, you're making it up. These are not bad people. Amnesty International, Arab American Institute Foundation, Aspen Institute, Association of Community Organizations for Reform. Now we go to the B's. Ballot Initiative Strategy Center, Soros. Bill of Rights Defense Committee, Soros. Black Alliance for Just Immigration, Soros. Blueprint North Carolina, Soros. Brennan Center for Justice, Soros. Brookings Institution, Soros. Would you want to seize? You're not going to like what you're going to hear. Catholics for Choice, Soros. Catholics in Alliance for the Common Good, Soros. Center for Reproductive Rights, Soros. I can't read them all to you. I'll go to the D's. Democracy Alliance, Democracy 21, Democracy Now. Democratic Justice Fund, Democratic Party. Demos, Drum Major Institute. Let's go to the E's, Earth Justice. I can read all of them to you. You'll buy them and read it yourself. F, Feminist Majority, Soros money. Free Exchange on Campus, Soros money. You know, there's a big difference between a free press and a freak press. Let me tell you, as someone who lives in the First Amendment, I live by it. I stand by it. I've been punished by it. I've been rewarded by it. Big difference between a free press and a freakish press. You want to go to the G's, the H's? Human Rights Campaign, Human Rights First, Human Rights Watch. How about the I's? Immigrant Defense Project, Immigrant Legal Resource Center, Immigration Advocates Network, Immigrant Worker Citizenship Project, Immigration Policy Center. How about the J's? J Street, Soros. Jewish Funds for Justice, Soros. Joint Victory Campaign, 204. Justice at Stake, Latino Justice, PRLDF. Lawyers Committee for Civil Rights Under Law, Soros. League of United Latin American Citizens, Soros. League of Women Voters Education Fund, Soros. You want to go to the M's? Malcolm X Grassroots Movement. You want to go to the N's? How about the M's? Mexican American Legal Defense and Education Fund. I'll read some of those that you may know. MoveOn.org, Soros. NARAL, Pro-Choice America. NAACP, Legal Defense and Education Fund, Soros. This snake, this octopus, has his hands in he has his tentacles in every leftist agitation group in the country. N, National Council for Research on Women. National Council of La Raza. National Public Radio, Soros. Can you imagine that National Public Radio, some of the most talentless broadcasters in America who receive huge salaries from the taxpayer, also receive money from Soros? You know what they would make if they had to go out into the free market like I do every day? You know what would happen to their ratings if they had to read ads and have ads run on their show? The ratings would plummet. You realize their ratings are high because there's no ads. It's not because their message is loved so much. I'll give you an example. If I had no ads on my show, I'd have no show to begin with because it's a commercial radio program. But let's say I had no ads whatsoever. None. No recorded ads, no live ads. Just me and guests. My ratings would triple. That's just the way it is. So NPR is a biased organization. It's a fake organization. Fake ratings. Natural Resources Defense Council, Soros. New Israel Fund, Soros. News Corp Watch, Soros. Pacifica Foundation, Soros. You get the picture. Physicians for Social Responsibility, Soros. Planned Parenthood, Soros. Plowshares Fund. Presidential Climate Action Project. Prison Moratorium Project. Oh, that's a good one. Prison Moratorium Project. They have blood on their hands. 2 cops were shot in California because of the moratorium in prisons on poor jailed illegal aliens. One of them with tattoos up to his head came out. He had been in and out of jail. He was stopped on a traffic violation. He shot 2 cops, killing one of them. All a result of liberalism, the mental disorder. ProPublica, Proteus Fund, Public Citizen Foundation. I can read all of them to you, but I'm not going to, because I'm going to go back to something else when I come back. And remember, I never called for government action against anyone spending their own money as they wish, even to promote socialist nonsense, as long as I am free to combat it. But when violent revolutionaries seek to tear down the pillars of civil society and assault anyone who dissents from their nihilistic view, then there is a role for Donald Trump's government to step in and defend life, liberty, and property against those who wish to destroy them. This is all in Trump's war. I know that you want the document. I know you're going to buy it. It's not that I'm sitting here with bated breath waiting for you to make the book a bestseller. This is the architectural plan for a new America. I'll be right back.
Join the Savage Nation. Call now, 855-400-SAVAGE, 855-400-7282. Savage.
It's such a heartbreak when I live here in California, and I love it so much. I love the geography. I love everything about this state, and yet I look at the pollution, the social pollution that has been wrought by Jerry Brown and his illegitimi. It makes me sick to my stomach that there is nothing to counter these psychotics and their intent to denude the nation of anything of value. But that's a separate story. It's just a very strong opinion about what they've done to this great state. And it's whether I'm in San Francisco or Los Angeles, I see the same disease, the same social rot. I can give you one example after another. You go in the streets of Beverly Hills, as I did yesterday after the show, and I go down there to look at the beautiful clothing. It's not the kind of stuff I buy, but people come from around the world, as you probably remember, to Rodeo Drive, right? Remember Rodeo Drive? Okay, all the high-end stores, maybe $85,000, $100,000 a month rent, with the most expensive luxury goods in the world. I've got something to tell you. Do you know that a goodly percentage of these stores are now boarded up? Do you know that a massive recession has hit these stores? People are not even reporting it. The last I was here, every store was full, and there were unlimited numbers of Japanese, Koreans, Japanese, Chinese, and most particularly and of interest were women in burqas shopping in these stores. And I couldn't understand why women from Muslim countries who allegedly hate our way of life would shop on Rodeo Drive. I said, what kind of clothing are they buying? And then it dawned on me that Trump's travel ban may have actually stopped the flood of travelers from some of these countries who are buying in these high-end stores. That could be part of the reason. I mean, there are other reasons as well. The economy is going through a downturn. People are shopping online rather than going to a store. But I will tell you, if you look at the stores on Rodeo Drive, you will see a recession in the making here. No one's reported that yet because it would be bad for business. That would be like reporting bad weather in Honolulu. It's not permitted. You know, Hawaii no ka'oi. It's always the best place on earth until you actually land there. I never told anyone the following. I may as well tell everyone now. I received a real shot in the arm this week from the president. I don't think I'm divulging anything that is illegal. It was the end of a long day, Tuesday, I think, and I got an email from his assistant, someone I had never heard of before, and someone I had never even communicated with before, and it was a PDF of the cover of my book, Trump's War, which Donald Trump had inscribed, and he put an inscription on the top in a marquee pen in one of those pens, and it said, Michael Savage, you are the greatest. Don't give up hope. We are winning. Donald J. Trump. And then she said to me, if you'd like the original, just send me your address. Of course I want the original. I want to frame it and put it in my archives and give it to my granddaughter as a great memento of this time in our lives. But the thing is it means something is going on. It means that the president is listening to those of us out here who work so hard to get him elected. And as I said earlier in the week, and I'll repeat, no, his base has not turned on him. In fact, if you look at the things he has achieved so far, we're very happy with him so far. And it's only not even been 100 days.
Savage.